let's get started. So we're talking about value in color. So what you see here is the demonstration from last period. I'm going to do the one beneath it in blue to show you it's the exact same process. We're just switching colors. So when we talk about making a color lighter or darker, we call that tints, which are white, or adding white on this side, and shades, which are adding black on this side. Now before we even start mixing color, I'm going to have palettes for you guys. Everybody actually has a palette over here that I've written your name on. So what you'll do after we get started and you're getting your supplies, I want you to grab your palette that has your name on it. Obviously, do not grab someone else's. And you'll keep that palette for the remainder of the semester so that anytime we're painting, you've got your own palette that you've been given and you'll always just use that. You're also going to need some water, just like before. You only want to fill it up about halfway. And a paintbrush. I'm going to give you one of these nice paintbrushes to use today. The only difference when we use these is that after you clean them, you're going to bring them directly to me just so that I can double check and make sure they've been cleaned correctly, because these paintbrushes are nicer and I want to keep them in good shape. So I'll pass these out to you when we get started. And you'll need a paper towel to wipe the excess water off your paintbrush. So before we even start mixing paint, we have some pure colors that we want to paint on our value scale. So blue is going to go in the middle because that's the most medium value, and it's not going to have black or white mixed with it. White, pure white, is going to go over here on the far left because that's the light side of the value scale. And pure black is going to go on the far right because that's the dark side of the value scale. So before we even start mixing the paint, we're just going to paint those pure colors in those places. So I'm going to start with the blue. I'm going to get just enough on my brush to paint with. If you have too much, it can be really hard to control your brush and where the paint's going. Remember that when we're doing these types of practice activities, just like when we did the color wheel, our craftsmanship is important. So we're trying to go slow and stay inside of the boxes on the handout just to practice controlling our brush. All right, so now I'm going to wash my brush out. Wipe off the excess water, and I'm going to paint white. Now, I know the paper is white, right? But I still want you to paint the white paint in this box. Paint it neatly. Don't go over the edges. All right, rinse out your brush, and then you're going to paint the black, just pure black on the end here. So you're going to be doing the red and the blue. I'm just doing the blue for the demonstration, but you're going to be doing the red and the blue. So while you're doing this, if you want to paint both black squares up here and down here at the same time, you want to paint both of the colors pure and both of the whites, you can totally do that, or you can do them one at a time. It doesn't matter. But either way, you want to paint these pure colors before you start mixing anything at all. All right. Now I'm going to wash out my brush, and we're going to do our tints or our shades. Which one do you want to do first? Doesn't matter. We'll do the tints first then. All right, so if we're making a tint, that means we're mixing our pure color with white. Now, what did we learn when we did the color wheels about which color you start with? The lightest one, that's right, Sadie. So if we're mixing blue and white together, that means I need to start with what? White. So I'm going to scoop some white off and bring it to the side. I want to save some just in case I need to add to it later. And then I'm going to get just a small amount of blue on my brush because blue is that really strong color. I'm just putting a really small amount of it on my brush. And I'm going to, dang it, I put it in the wrong pile. Oh well, that's my save pile now. So now I'm going to mix it together and I get a really, really, really pale blue. So if the scale is arranged from light to dark, where do you think that this blue should go? Right next to the white. I think you're right. So we're going to put that there. So can you see a difference between the white and the blue? No? Yes. Can you really not see it? You can see it? Okay. So now I'm going to add, if I want to make this darker to go in the next spot over, I don't want to see you. If you're looking down at the floor, that means that you're on your phone. Get off your phones. If I'm making a slightly darker blue to go here, because it goes from light to dark, what should I do to this to make it fit here? Add more blue, that's right. So So I'm gonna get more blue on my brush now. And mix it in. Now that's definitely darker than what we had, but I'm still gonna mix a little more blue just to make a dramatic difference. All right, so now I'm gonna take the color I've mixed and I'm gonna paint it here. Now, can we see a step between all of these? Yes? Eyes on me, friends, up here. All right, now we're gonna start mixing our shades. So remember that if the rule is that we start with our lighter color first and I'm mixing these two together, which do I start with? Which is, if we're making shades. You'll eventually get it. So we'll start with the blue first because it's weaker than the black. The black is really bold. It's a really strong color. Now I want to go ahead and tell you, in this project, there is not any point when I'm going to want you to mix the color with white and black at the same time. We're only going to mix the color with just white and mix colors with just black, but we're not going to mix them at the same time. So I'm going to scoop aside some blue. I'm going to leave some over here in case I need some more. And then I'm going to get just the tiniest amount of black on my paintbrush, and I'm going to mix it in. Now, because this is a shade and it's darker, it's really hard to tell what it looks like on the palette. So I would recommend using a scrap piece of paper, just like we did with the color wheel, and testing it to see what it looks like. Is that different enough from the pure blue, or you think we need more black? More black. So I'm going to add just a little more. What is it called when you mix black, when you make a dark blue? What's that color called? The name for the color? Navy, right. So that's a good darker blue, so I'm going to paint that here. So we can see a difference from the most medium, the pure blue, to this, correct? Okay, so now I'm going to make it darker because we're darkening this direction. What do I do to make this color? Add more black. So I'm going to get more black on my brush and mix it in with this pile of blue. That looks super dark on my palette, so I'm going to test it on my paper. And that's a good navy, so I'm going to put it here. Now remember, just like when I did the color wheel demonstration, we fill these in all the way. I just did the little swatches to make time go by faster for the demonstration, but remember that you fill these in all the way and fill them in neatly. Do y'all have any questions about this? You're doing the red and the blue today. So here, after you're finished, you want to wash out your brush, and then remember, give that brush directly back to me. I want you to wash this palette and put the clean palette on your shelf, and then you're going to submit this on canvas.